Hi everyone, I'm Claire Saffitz. I am here in my parents' kitchen on Cape Cod, and today I'm making a real staple of our summer menu, and that is the lobster roll. So using beautiful, fresh lobster caught right off Cape Cod, a little mayo, a couple herbs, we season it really well. We have to serve it in a split top hot dog bun, as they do in New England. So I'm gonna show you how to make it, and I'm so hungry, my mouth is watering. There's nothing better than a lobster roll. So this is lobster that we just picked the meat. We steamed them last night and picked them up yesterday when they came literally off the lobster boat. It did take a little taste. It's excellent. They were super hard shells, filled with meat, just the right amount of cooking so that they're done but not overly done, when then they're going to become a little bit rubbery, and these are good lobster. There's sort of two styles. There's like a Maine lobster roll and a Connecticut lobster roll. In Connecticut, they are served warm and the meat is just like buttered, served warm in a bun. And then the Maine style is like served, more kind of cold or chilled with mayo. So I'm doing a mayo preparation, but it's gonna be really light. The bun itself is gonna be warm because we're gonna griddle it. So you kind of get like a little bit of both, and the bun's gonna get buttered. So this is just everything that I love about seafood. And then what we're adding to it is just flavors that are gonna enhance the lobster meat itself. You don't wanna cover it up. What you put in a lobster roll, I think, is very personal, and like maybe no two people make them exactly the same way. But generally speaking, I do mayo as kind of the main binder. I'm not gonna make my own mayo. I thought about it. Not only do I not feel like making it fussy right now, but I don't think it makes it better. I don't feel like a homemade mayo is essential to a good lobster roll. So prepared mayonnaise, a little bit of Dijon mustard. I have some spices. I'm gonna add a little bit of cayenne pepper and a little bit of celery salt. Celery salt, I think, is like such a great accompaniment to this. Then regular salt, pepper. Then I'm gonna add some herbs. I have chive, some lemon, a little bit of tarragon. Tarragon is not like a super common herb, but it's a nice tender herb, and it has sort of a slight licoricey anise flavor, which is so good with shellfish of all kinds. So a little bit of tarragon, because a little goes a long way. Some celery, just because I like the crunch. And then buns and a little butter for griddling them. Pretty straightforward. All you really need besides a bowl and a spoon is a large skillet for griddling the buns, and that's it. I'm gonna start by chopping up my herbs. And celery is kind of like the only other component that's not just there to season the lobster meat. Celery and seafood goes together so well, and I really like the crunch that it adds. So I actually deliberately picked stalks from the inner part of the celery, the heart, because I think they're a little bit more tender and a little bit milder. And I'm gonna finely chop this because I just want there to be like small little pieces throughout. I do think that you'll find celery in a lot of lobster rolls, a lot of kind of Maine style lobster rolls. I love the texture. It does kind of have a strong flavor, so I don't wanna add too much. I can always add more, but I don't wanna sit here picking out a bunch of little bits of celery. So maybe a third of a cup. Then I'm gonna do some tarragon. This is an herb that you'll often find paired with seafood. The kind of anise or licorice flavor that it has is just a classic combo with seafood, similar to fennel, great flavor combo. And I don't wanna add too much. I don't really want it to be like very noticeable. I just want it to be kind of in the background, highlighting the lobster. So I'm picking a bunch of the leaves. So I have, it's probably just gonna be like a tablespoon of finely chopped tarragon. Whenever you're cutting herbs, you want to use a really sharp knife. So that's going to go in. And then my chives. So for chives, I think these are chives from my parents' garden. They're really fine and very thin. So whenever I'm cutting chives, I actually cut them in half. I make sure to slice through them really cleanly, and then I bring one half over, line them up on the cut side. Cutting chives takes a lot of practice. You need to use a really sharp knife, preferably with kind of a thin blade. And you want to really slice, like nice long strokes, so that you're getting through all of them. And the idea is that you're not compressing the chive, which is hollow, and like smushing it. You want to slice through them, not like mush them down. So these are very fine. And also this knife is not actually that sharp, but the point is that when you look at a cut chive, you can still see the whole opening and they're not like flattened. The other really important thing about chives is that they're dry. If they're wet, it's a nightmare. You'll never dry them. They'll never separate. So that's a couple tablespoons of chives. It's gonna go in. I might do more later, but I'll wait and taste and then see. I am going to do a little bit of cayenne pepper, not a lot. I just like having a subtle heat in the background. When you're doing cayenne, I don't recommend trying to sprinkle it from the container. That would be very bad. Just take like a little bit on the knife point, put it in. These spices are really old, so they might not be very strong. Now I'm gonna add celery salt. Celery salt is very salty. So this is kind of be the main seasoning. I don't want to put too much. Then some cracked black pepper. So now I have my prepared mayo. I want to add just enough to coat everything and bind the ingredients, but no more than that. So you don't want to have just like loose mayo in between all the pieces. So call that a 1/4 cup. You can always add more. And I'm going to add just a squirt of Dijon mustard. You could use whole grain. You could use spicy mustard, I guess. I like Dijon. I like how acidic it is. I like the little bit of spiciness. Call it a tablespoon. And now I'm going to mix it together. So I want to mix gently. And then I can always adjust. So I actually think that amount of mayo looks good, but I want to taste it. So I want to check for seasoning. I have lemon on standby in case I feel like it needs some acid. I have salt as well in case it needs salt. I'm going to taste a piece. I could probably add the rest of the celery. Definitely enough celery salt. I think it needs lemon, maybe a little bit more mustard, maybe some more chive, maybe a little more cayenne. So I'm going to kind of make little tweaks. I think a hint of Old Bay could also be nice, but I'm kind of, between the cayenne and the celery salt, kind of doing the same thing. I'm going to add the rest of the celery, then a squeeze of lemon. And maybe 1 or 2 cracks of salt. All right, I'm going to taste a little bit. It's yummy. I think it could use a little more lemon, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the lobster rolls and just finish the tops with a little bit of lemon. It's really good. Doesn't need more seasoning. It's delish. So this is going to go off to the side, or maybe I might stick it in the fridge. And now the last thing to do before I assemble is griddle my split top hot dog buns. So in New England, this was new to me when my parents moved to New England from St. Louis. They have regular hot dog buns, but they also have this style called split top where the buns are formed and they are baked like touching each other, like pull apart rolls. When you pull them apart, you get these sort of exposed sides and then they're split on the top instead of like the side. So what's great about these for lobster rolls is I think it's just nice to have a soft bun like this, and you can griddle the sides and get them like nice and toasty and coated in butter. So that's what I'm gonna do. I have a large skillet over here, which I'm gonna put it over medium heat. So I'm gonna do half the butter, a couple tablespoons. So I'm making actually 5 lobster rolls because we're 5 people. So I have my 5 buns. They're all gonna go in. If you don't have a skillet this large, you might have to do this part in batches. So these are just gonna toast. And I want each side to be nice and golden brown. And what's great is that like it creates a super thin, slightly crispy shell that kind of holds the meat. And then the rest of the bun is like super soft and squishy, which is kind of what you want. When I first started eating lobster rolls, because again, it was something that I didn't really experience until later when my parents moved to Boston from St. Louis. I was kind of like, why do you need the bun? But actually the bun is crucial. Like the butteriness that you get from it being griddled and just that contrast, like the way that the meat kind of yields to the softness of the bun is really good. So giving them a shake helps them absorb all that butter. And I can smell they're getting a little toasty. You might want to rotate them around a little bit so they cook evenly. So they're getting lightly toasted. I think a little more color than that, but that's looking very good. So these are about ready to flip. They're beautiful golden brown on the first side. I'm gonna add a little bit more butter to the skillet, a couple pieces actually, and then I'm gonna flip them. And that extra butter is for the second side to get toasty just like the first. It smells so good. I really am so hungry. I'm gonna turn off my heat. These are done. The second side is nice and toasted just like the first. So I'm gonna get these buns off of the heat and onto my cutting board. So the buns are still, they're just not like burning hot, but they're still warm. So I'm gonna kind of open them up. The inside's kind of steam, which is really nice. And now I'm just gonna take that lobster mixture and divide them evenly among the buns. Sometimes you'll find like lettuce in the bottom of a lobster roll. Not my favorite. So it gets kind of wilted, as Harris says about his burger. I don't want produce on it, I think is what he says. That's something like that. What was that noise? Anyway, okay. Not only am I hungry, but I want to eat these before the buns fully cool. Even though they're still delicious room temp, I do like that contrast between the warm bun and the cold lobster salad. It's like a little boat. Super crispy on the outsides, really fully contains it, but nice and soft in the middle. This is very good food. Lots of textures, a little bit of crunch of celery. The texture of lobster is just incredible. Plus the bun, and then you get this kind of like buttery finish from the exterior. I'm gonna give it a little bit of lemon. Also the tarragon, subtle, but like there in the background, that kind of like licoricey flavor, plus a little bit of onioniness from the chive, and it's well seasoned too. So it's not bland. Sometimes if you like feel like your lobster roll doesn't taste like anything because of the lobster, put a little lemon and salt on it. It'll bring it to life. I just can't think of something more special and fun and delicious in summertime than a lobster roll, especially if you're in New England. And I'm so happy I got to make them at least one time this summer. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. You want me to take another bite? I don't know why I ever thought that you shouldn't eat it on a bun. The bun is very important.